I'm joined right now by Adam Mares. Adam, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing so good. I'm on the Fast Break Breakfast Show.
You're on Fast Break Breakfast. You are the all-time most frequent guest of Fast Break Breakfast, I believe. There's not an official tally, but in my heart, at the very least, you're number one.
Hey, that's what's important, man. And I'm a little proud of that. I'm proud of
You
that.
should be proud. You should go around telling people constantly, and they should say, what's Fast Break Breakfast? You do know, though, as a frequent guest, we start off with breakfast talk. I didn't even put that in the outline, Adam. Have you had any breakfast today on Friday, March 31st?
I'm not going to lie. When you texted me 20 minutes ago, I was in bed.
That's fair.
So, no. I showered. I got dolled up for you. And here you are.
Yeah, I assumed that's what you were doing. Here's what happens. Here's the secret life of a podcaster. You text somebody, and you're like, hey, I'm ready to start early if you are. And they reply, is this thing on video? Happens all the time in the industry. Happens all the time. And that means I'm in bed.
Yep.
That means I'm not. Is anyone going to see this? And I told you maybe 30 people will see it. So
that was enough for me.
30 people. I know the way I know your work ethic, and your work ethic is if I can affect one person, I'm going to go 100%, 110%. If one person derives enjoyment from looking at me, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there, whatever the ask.
I'm like Michael Jordan. You know, I just never know what kid will be watching for the first time.
That's right.
I don't want to disappoint them. I always bring it. When
you leave the house, you got to wear a suit. That could be the one time this kid sees Adam Mares, and he wants to have a good impression. It's all right. I don't really have breakfast either. My wife is out of town. What she calls a conference. I have no way to verify that's where she is. So single parenting. I set my alarm 1 minute earlier because I was scared that I wouldn't get the kids out the door in time to take them to school. So I thought 1 minute would be plenty. I guess it was. My daughter has gone 2 days in a row with no barrette. It's her choice. It's not because it physically hurts her when I put the bread in. Anyway, I'm not the best at the hair care.
People don't know the struggle of the wife out of town with small children. It's a real struggle.
Right. It's shout out every single parent trying to make this happen. Oh, whew, it's intense. Anyways, Adam, I appreciate your Denver Nuggets on Thursday night. Taking a knee and losing to the Pelicans, making sure the Grizzlies still have the best home record in the NBA. That was pretty cool. Were the Nuggets handing the Pelicans a win, and will more teams keep handing the Pelicans and Thunder wins down the stretch to hopefully harm the Los Angeles Lakers?
I think so. I do think there is a general hatred of the Lakers from other organizations. Not just like, I mean, of course there's from fans. Fans hate the Lakers.
Right.
But I think from actual like GMs, I had heard a story that when the D'Angelo Russell trade happened with Jared Vanderbilt, that a bunch of people around the league were furious. Just this like, I don't care if it was a good trade for both sides or whatever. Like, what are you doing? Or actually, I think the one that was really special was the Jared Vanderbilt one, right?
Well, that was the
Utah trade.
Yeah. That was all the same thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. So it was that trade that people looked around and were like, hey, what are you guys doing? They're like, hey, it's an equal trade. Like, yeah. We don't do equal trades with the Lakers.
Adam, I think you're mixing this up in your mind with the Pau Gasol trade.
Oh, there it is. That's
the Pau Gasol trade. What was this? 2000? I don't remember, 6 or something.
That was
where everyone was outraged that the Grizzlies traded Pau Gasol to the Lakers weeks before the trade deadline. Everyone's like, we could have offered it better. That's all you got. You got Javaris Crittenden, the rights of a guy we've never heard of named Marc Gasol, and like a late first. You know, again, it was a terrible trade the Grizzlies made back then. The trade where they got D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt, great trade for the Lakers. I think there's a fair question for why didn't anyone else want to pay anything for these people? Because it seemed like they dumped Westbrook for free. Of course, now Westbrook is awesome on the Clippers once again. But yeah, I do think teams don't like the Lakers, and say what you will, if LeBron James is healthy and Anthony Davis is healthy, and that's not who you want to play. If you're the 1 seed Nuggets, you don't want to play the 8 seed Lakers. That's no fair.
It's true, man. It's true. And I think there's this other part of this where the Lakers do everything wrong at all moments, and somehow it just is going to work out for them. And this is like this season.
Yeah.
how many good, really over the last like 3 years, how many good decisions have been made over there versus how many bad ones? And yeah,
Right.
you're right. Even the LeBron injury in a weird way. I mean, we'll see if he's actually healthy, but there's almost this. My theory on LeBron is he can't play 82 games. I think that's like not even a theory. We kind of see that. But my other theory is I don't think he can play 4 series in a row. And especially not if you have to sprint in. So the fact that he got this like month off of rest, in a lot of ways, I'm like, oh man, that was the perfect break. You get a month off.
Oh,
All
a
you have
little
to do is
bit.
play 4 series and you're in.
I don't. I also don't think all these guys who are like they tear. I mean, we're assuming it's some kind of like plantar fascia tear or Achilles type small, like whatever it is. Not Achilles tear, but like there's something in your foot where it's hurt. It now hurts to walk and run. Those things don't heal. Like you can't. They don't heal in weeks, even if you are LeBron James, and you can give every medical treatment, advancement in science towards it. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be all right. But I still think other teams are going to be like, you know what? What if we can lose to the Thunder? I think the Thunder are confused right now because like the Thunder they're pretty good, but like the Jazz are pretty good. The Jazz could be better than the Lakers, I think, if they wanted to. But they don't want to. They're really overtly being like, oh, listen, it was a fun story. We're done. I think
so annoying, by the way. Like
it is annoying.
Annoying story. Like if you have all those picks, I really think people over-index on can you get a top pick, like a top 1, 2, 3 pick? And if not, what's the point? What do you need to go down and tank for? There's like 2% chance that you're going to move up in the standings. It's way better for your young players to go get a taste of the play-in. And
I mean, that might be true. The Jazz are not far from having like a 17% chance at a top 4 pick.
Really? 17%?
Yeah. Well, right now, if the season ended right now, they have a 17% right now, actually, turns out. So again, the flattened odds, good and bad. I still am outraged that the league incentivizes losing.
Yeah.
If the lottery order was set by my plan of most wins over teams that have a better record than you at time of the matchup, as opposed to losses, I think the end of the season would be much more exciting. But anyway, the Jazz are out of it. And I think the Thunder are still like, you know what? We want Shea to make all NBA, but that's kind of wrapped up. And now it's like, we still would like to have our 6% chance. But it's going to be funny. It's going to be like last year. Last year, the Spurs tanked, but made the play in because the Lakers were so terrible.
Right.
This year, I think I still think the Thunder kind of want to, but the Mavericks are so terrible that the Mavericks just can't. Like teams are tanking ahead of you, and you can't catch them.
Right. Man, I'm looking at the Thunder schedule because so much of this comes down to who plays whom at the end. And the Thunder play Utah, who you just said were tanking.
Yeah.
And then they have 2 days off and they play Memphis, who has a really good chance of just being locked into a spot. No need. I mean,
so the problem, Grizzlies want that 2 seed, and they're 2 games up on the Kings. I think the Kings are going to have the tiebreaker based on conference record, but I could be confused about that. So the Grizzlies do need to win a few games, but I feel like if it benefited them, if the Kings drop a game, let's lose at the Pelicans and lose at the Thunder.
Yeah,
we have those road games. Let's do that. Let's knock the Lakers down to 10th or 9th. I want LeBron James to have to travel across time zones to come play in Central Time for the 9-10 game, and then have to go play somewhere for the loser of 7 and 8 versus the loser of 9-10 or the winner 9-10. Also, Western Conference play-in is screwed up because of travel. Because the Eastern Conference doesn't have this. We're talking cross-country flights for everyone.
Man, I didn't think about this. You could have New Orleans to Golden State, or New Orleans to Golden State would be the worst one, right? If you had to play. Yeah.
It's like 3,000 miles. It's that's what the Grizzlies did last year. The Grizzlies, or 2 years ago, the Grizzlies had to play. They had a home game against the Spurs, then had to fly out to Golden State. They win.
That's a long one.
No one remembers the win when the Warriors talk about their dynasty. No one talks about losing in the play-in at home to Grayson Allen and Xavier Tillman.
Yeah, no one does talk about that. You're right.
No, honestly, what were you saying?
I was going to say, can I ask you though? We're 3 years into the play-in now, I believe.
Yeah.
Are we? Here's my problem with the NBA, and I like analytics. I got into this through analytics, but here's my complaint about analytics rant. The unintended consequences of all of the things analytics taught us have, I think, maybe made the game a little bit crappier, not because they were wrong, but because they were too right. that now the game is a little bit more scientific. And I think
what does this have to do with the play-in? I agree with you. I agree with everything you said, because you're talking about 3-pointers, right?
Everybody's talking about like, oh, the play-in has made this end of season so exciting. If you took off the 9 and 10 seed, it would still be exciting. If there was no play-in, we're still talking about teams separated by 1 game, and we're trying to get in. I look at what you're saying and say, yeah, this is flatten the odds that I think teams, and especially veteran teams like, say, the Los Angeles Lakers, look at it and go, 6 seed, 7 seed, 10 seed. What's it matter? And the regular season almost has gotten worse somehow. We tried to save the regular season. I think it might have gotten it worse, just because nobody really, if you're not a top 2 or 3 seed, the rest of them are kind of just like in the wash.
Yeah, I don't know, because I am enjoying the play-in. I am just incredibly enthusiastic about the idea of, like, maybe the Warriors aren't going to fall there, but like it could have been something like Warriors, Lakers, Mavericks, Pelicans play-in.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, that would be
single
good.
elimination. Like, are you kidding? Like, that is riveting. That's incredible.
But is it worth an entire season though? Because
I think it might be, because like, so this season right now, I think this is straight propaganda from the league's communication office. Isn't it like 25 teams are alive for the postseason, and there's like 2 weeks left? I think that's awesome personally, and I'm excited about that. And this year the standings are perfect for the play-in, because like you said, everyone's bunched together, all the 7 through 10. 5, let's see, the 2019 season, there was a 9-game gap between 8 and 9. Like we haven't had that since the play-in started. One, because it was artificially, what's the word? Like compressed. The standings were artificially compressed in the bubble when they made up rules midway through the season. And they're like, hey, if you're within 4 games of the Grizzlies, we're going to have a play-in. What? How is this fair? How in the world are we doing this in the middle of the season?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense at all. We have a 4-game lead. But there's been other years where it's like, hey, 7 and 10, we're at 12-game gap. Why in the world is there, I don't know. And it's also terrible for the 8 seed, because you have to win a road game. And if you lose, they say, hey, you have 2 chances. It's double elimination. But you're playing a road game. And then if you lose it, which you're supposed to lose, you come home, and that's single elimination in my book. You have one remaining option. Are you worried at all as a Nuggets fan with this 1 seed about who may come out of the play-in if it is the Lakers?
I mean, here's the thing. Logically, I think the Nuggets are meaningfully better than all of these teams in the play-in zone. I mean, the Warriors, whatever. Lakers, I know they get this. I think Denver's meaningfully better. They're more connected. They have answers for just about everything. I just think they're better.
Yeah.
I will say the only thing that derails the Nuggets, as evidenced by last night's brilliant TNT game that did not feature Nikola Jokic.
Glorious.
It was actually one of the worst games I've ever watched. That the Nuggets without Jokic are pretty terrible no matter who's on the court. It almost doesn't matter. And I look at this. This is my conspiracy theory, Keith. Jokic is never in foul trouble. One of the reasons he shines in defensive metrics is because he doesn't foul. Now, the result of this is he does give up a higher percentage of shots at the rim, but what he doesn't give up are jump shooting fouls that just turn up to 2 points anyway. He doesn't foul. He's only twice been in foul trouble in the playoffs. Game 1 and game 4 of the Lakers series that they played against him. I just look at that, and then you see all these numbers. Lakers have a differential in fouls. It's like 10 more fouls per game. I just look at that and I go, Jokic is never in foul trouble. He was the one time was against the Lakers. They're going to play a Lakers team that draws ridiculous fouls. That's the only thing I worry about in that series. But that aside, I think Denver crushes them.
What about just the Mavericks?
What about them?
Are you scared at all of the Kyrie and Luka Mavericks? Also, the conspiracy theory of the league rescinding a technical foul for Luka Doncic that would have had him suspended. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
It's like you are veering into professional wrestling, NBA. Do you not hear the things that the people are saying out there? Do you not hear these conspiracy theories? And then like, oh, well, Luka, like showing up the referee, complaining about a call, picks up his 16th tech, and the league's like, you know what? No,
he wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Draymond.
The game before he did the rubbing his fingers together, the referees have been paid off sign. Didn't get a technical foul for that.
Scotty Barnes, by the way, did a similar thing against the Nuggets. He got 1 tech that threw him out. I've never heard of this. I thought you had to get 2 techs to throw you out, but you can get a tech so bad it throws you out. And that's
he didn't even do the money sign. He said, "This bleep is rigged," if I remember correctly.
No,
He said it's
I think,
rigged or
I think
something.
he said you guys are cheating. He said
Yeah,
you're
well,
cheating.
one of those,
which isn't even that bad.
That
like you're
isn't
cheating.
even that isn't even talking about Tim Donaghy. That's a for me, referee defender. That's a legit thing a guy can say. It was the softest of foul calls in a close. This was a Nuggets game, right?
It wasn't.
This was the Nuggets Raptors game where the Nuggets. Scott Foster from Delco County, who called Tim Donaghy on the phone 170 times. The Nuggets mysteriously covered based on 5 calls you made in the final minute of a game. Nothing to see here.
It's so funny too, though, because like you said, I don't know if that's a tech, but it's definitely not the secret tech I never heard of that is so bad you get thrown out. Like
the magic ejection tech. Yeah.
That's the single tech that's worth 2. Get out of here. Just get out.
And then they threw out Terrence Mann that one time where some ref called 3 techs in 4 seconds. It's not game time, real time. And then they rescinded it. You can't rescind an ejection. You you ejected him. Like, well, oh, okay. He's not fined $5,000. Like, you can't rescind.
I think. What about isn't Draymond up against his 16th tech too? Isn't he like right on the line?
So wait, is he going to be suspended? Did he already get? Because he got one.
Did he get one?
He got one, and then his reaction was that how?
Yeah.
He screamed how 20 times. No other player gets this. No other player is allowed to scream how at a referee with his hands like outstretched.
Jokic doesn't even speak English and he gets texts for things he says. I don't understand it. Like if you just yell something in Serbian, they assume it's terrible. You
can look in Jokic's face and know he deserves to get ejected. I say that as a huge Jokic fan. Tony Brothers has tossed him so many times where it's like, if you show Jokic's face, body language, arms swinging, yeah, that seemed fair.
I know why it is, though. I'll tell you, I know why it is. Jokic will not like back down on something like that. And Tony Brothers is the guy that like will walk up to a player and stare at him, just like daring them to make a reaction. And of course, Jokic is like 100% on reacting.
Did Tony Brothers, was he the guy? I think it was him who ran Vucevic maybe last Sunday or this previous week. Vucevic got tossed where he picked up a foul, yelled at the ref, all right, technical foul. And then he's over on the bench getting like his finger taped. And he's still talking to the referee. Referee? Why are you looking at him?
That's exactly it. That's Tony Brothers.
If the guy's on the bench and you already teed him up, just move on, man.
He's not a walk away guy. He's a walk towards. Like, hey, I'm gonna instigate this and see what happens. Yoke falls for it every time.
I have a question about specific to the Nuggets about their arena.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me. It's called the Ball Arena.
Is that Ball Arena?
Ball Arena, is that because it sounds like ballerina?
It does. I do think that's a nice, like, hidden coincidence or lucky coincidence there.
So, but coincidence, you think, not purposeful?
I don't think it's purposeful.
If my 5-year-old who learned to read in the last month, if she looked at that, she would sound it out and then she'd go, "Oh, ballerina."
Yeah.
Like, no, actually, it's not.
I actually think Ball Arena is a top name. Like we had TD Bank, what is it? TD Bank North Garden, horrible name, does not run. Like
awful.
Rocket Mortgage Arena. These are terrible. But I think Ball Arena is like perfect.
It's also kind of, it's like that hipstery thing to do to say sports ball. Like, I'm going to go play some sports ball. It's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to the Ball Arena. Yeah. What are you going to see? No, I'm going to Ball Arena. Like, or is it football? What is it? Just say what you're saying. No. Is it like the Cavaliers' old stadium called Gund Arena? And they did that because it sounded like gonorrhea.
It's just like that. It's
just like that.
You cracked the code. Yeah.
I figured I did. Your guy Jokic, is he going to win the MVP, Adam? Does he need another one? Better question. Shouldn't he share?
He doesn't need one. He should share. He definitely doesn't want one. And I don't think he'll get one, honestly.
Okay.
Nuggets might tank enough game. All year it's just been this like, hey, we got to find someone else to give it to. And I think there's guys that are worthy beyond the like sort of whatever. But I will say that every time someone comes up with this is why this is why you should give it to so-and-so, they immediately tank their reason for doing it. Like players won't get Embiid, Giannis, they won't get out of their own ways to give Jokic this MVP.
Yeah. I thought it was eyebrow raising how Embiid has only played one time at Denver in the last 5 years.
This was the headline for our podcast after that game was like, shocker, Joel Embiid sits at Denver. Like,
right.
I listened to some national podcast that said, this isn't a thing that Embiid does very often. So this is very uncharacteristic. I said, no, it's not.
It's
No,
not.
it's not. He hasn't played here since his rookie season. This is what he does every year.
So I can't express more how whoever wins the MVP, it doesn't affect my life one bit. And I know Nuggets fans like, okay, you know, you can have your arguments. I'm a huge Jokic fan.
Oh, we don't care either, man. I'm telling you, minus like 3 or 4 of the vocal people on Twitter that just really get into that thing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, nobody in Denver, there's no more validation you get for being a 3-time than a 2-time. It doesn't add anything.
It is a higher, it's another notch up in Bill Simmons' next book of basketball, right?
Well, there you go.
Getting the higher, I don't know, tier. No, the one thing I think about with if Jokic doesn't win, which again, it totally fine, but I'm like really obsessed with stats and I like numbers a lot. Yeah. And part of me wonders, and I know all stats are changing where all stats are ridiculous now and everyone's scoring 30 points and there's nonstop triple doubles. Part of me wonders if we look ahead in a few decades, if we're still around and we're looking back and we say, wait a minute, this one guy averaged 25 points per game on 63% field goals.
Yeah. And
also averaged a triple double. Are you kidding me? Like that happened? Then you're like, oh, also he didn't win MVP, which I remember when I was a kid, someone told me Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points. And this was like after Michael Jordan had scored like 58 or something. And I was like, somebody scored 58 points in an NBA game? That's impossible. And someone's like, Chamberlain scored 100. And I'm like, that's not true. There's no way that's true. And Adam, we looked at an encyclopedia and it was in I'm talking about bound.
Wow.
Whatever it was, Britannica Encyclopedia at my house. Wilt Chamberlain had an entry and it was in there. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And part of me wonders, I mean, maybe everyone's going to shoot 65% from the field in the 2030s, but part of me wonders, we're going to look back and be like, this guy 25, 12, and 10 as the central point of a good team, central focal offensive point of a good team, shot 63%. Those numbers are madness to me that however good Embiid and Giannis are, I'm like, yeah, but this stat is what I see mainly. But again, I'm a biased Jokic fan.
Well, the thing is that it doesn't equal team success though, so that's why he gets. Oh, wait a second.
It does.
Hold on a second.
It does equal team success.
It does actually.
One thing, Adam. One thing that should affect my happiness, but I don't feel it happening, is the Defensive Player of the Year campaign. So like Jaren Jackson Jr., my guy for the Grizzlies, he's I think unquestionably the best rim protector in the NBA. All the stats bear this out. Blocks per game, blocks percentage, the opponent field goal percentage at the rim, the expected points on shots at the rim. He far and away the best at this. So if you're just ranking defenders in the NBA, let's do it this way. If you're ranking defenders, where would you put Brook Lopez as far as best defenders in the entire Milwaukee Bucks organization?
Third, easily.
He's easily the third best defensive player on his own team.
I didn't know who you were going to go.
Favorite.
I thought you were going to go. Man, I'm out of this conversation. Right. I'm out of most awards conversation. Like the MVP one finds me wherever I hide, it finds me.
Of course.
This one I'm out on because I thought you were going to bring up like a Mobley or somebody. Is it Brook? Is that the competition?
Brook Lopez is the betting favorite by a lot to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's the third. Bucks fans, don't they think he's the third best defender on his team?
Here's what's funny about all of these things, man. Because I'm with you on this. Like, Mobley, I thought has the two guys that have impressed me the most this year defensively have been Mobley and Jaren Jackson.
That's right.
And for me, and Jaren Jackson has been the most impressed. Like, Yoke still lit up the Grizzlies when they played them, in Denver, the couple of times. Like their offense, it hummed, even though I was like, hey, that's good defense. Denver kept scoring anyway. But Jaren Jackson is one of the few guys that has made Jokic like go to like a third move and then it didn't look good. Like sometimes he'll have a guy will stop the first move, he'll do a second move, he'll do a third move, and then it's like, oh, wide open layup. He got you on the third one. Jaren Jackson stuck with him on all of them and contested some shots where I was like, man, that guy can really cover some ground and he's so long. So I'm with you on the Jaren Jackson thing. Isn't the conversation though that he's like low on games or something?
Yeah, he's low on games. He's low on minutes. There's a fake narrative that he's low on minutes because of foul trouble. He's low on minutes because they don't play him much. They choose to not play him.
By the way, can I tell you something? One of my favorite things about Taylor Jenkins, done this 2 years in a row. My guy, David Roddy, I love that he played through the first couple of months.
Yeah.
Horrible player in the first
Yeah.
couple of months. Like his numbers were terrible. And I just love the dude. And I don't know how he's been the last like 2 weeks, but I know he was having a good run there for a little bit. And that's what I like about Taylor Jenkins. He'll stick with guys to be like, hey, no, we just got to suffer through these for a little bit.
They've done that consistently where they're just like, we're gonna play guys. Like Zaire Williams, just go play.
You're start you.
God awful for the first few months, but then like you reap those benefits. Of course, Zaire's been terrible this year. So who knows what happened? Exactly. No, I see Jaren, like one of my complaints about the losses at Denver is they didn't have Jaren guard Jokic that much. Because normally that's Steven Adams' job. And Steven Adams does a good job on Jokic usually. Steven Adams like shuts down Domantas Sabonis and other guys. But like my thing for a defensive player, if you're the best rim protector and then you also switch onto guards, you can switch onto perimeter players. Like, why are we in the year of our Lord 2023 still doing a drop big who can only play drop as a defensive player of the year? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Here's my other take, because years back people would be like, Bam Adebayo, what a defensive guy. Like he can guard inside, guard outside. And I always said he can't guard inside against the good players. It's just there's only like 3 of them. So Embiid comes into town, he cooks him, and Jokic comes into town, he cooks him. I feel the same way about Brook Lopez. He's really good against all these like second, third, fourth tier bigs, like a Valanciunas, really good player, but like Brook Lopez is going to contest. He's going to be good. And then he can, drop and play or whatever he is with the best other defenders around him. Jokic goes up against Brook Lopez. Might as well Drew Holiday might as well try to take a stab at him in the post.
And honestly, Drew Holiday would do maybe as good of a job. I mean, Drew Holiday's amazing. Drew Holiday's amazing, and he's so strong. I feel like that would bother Jokic.
It makes then you get away with all that extra foul trouble because you're giving up weight. Like you get an extra like 10%. Every 10 pounds of body fat you give, or a body weight you give up, you get like 10% more physicality. But yeah, Brook Lopez guarded Jokic, and Jokic made him look like the worst defender in the NBA. And I just thought, yeah, I'm sure he looks good against all these mediocre bigs, but then he plays against the good ones and they cook him.
I would also like to say, I think Brook Lopez is really, really good.
He is.
He's a fantastic player. He's absolutely one of the main reasons why the Bucks are awesome. If we're talking about the best defenders on his team, no, like what in the world are we talking about? Sounds like Marcus Smart last year. Marcus Smart won the Defensive Player of the Year on fictitious hustle stats.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart's a good player. Yeah. Tatum can lock a guy up better.
I honestly wonder if you put Giannis on Denver, because Giannis to me is the best fit next to Jokic, because Jokic takes care of 100% of the offense. You just need some defensive players, and a rim protecting 4 is like the best thing. If Giannis was on Denver, I think Denver would be like top 3 defense, and people would be like, Jokic's really improved defensively. His positional defense has been great. It's always been good. Just didn't have the 7-footer come block shots for him behind.
Well, we haven't talked about this. One of my greatest disappointments of this year, which is something I didn't know I would be disappointed about, was when I found out there was a brief, like an hour after the All-Star draft happened, and Jokic and Jaren Jackson Jr. were on the same team. I was already tickled to death that Jaren was an All-Star. I wasn't expecting that at all, even though he's incredible. When Jokic and Jaren were on the same team, I was like, my God, they might play basketball together. And it had never entered my brain that I would ever have the chance to watch Jaren Jackson Jr. and Nikola Jokic play basketball at the same time.
Yeah.
They did not. And I was crushed. I was like, that's like, for me, like you said, Giannis and Jokic, for me, the perfect pairing with Jaren is Jokic. Like that would be the best front court I could dream of. And they did not make it happen for me.
I don't know that it would have been cool though in the All-Star game, I don't know if that would have come out if we would.
Well, Jaren said something like, "Yeah, I realized pretty quick I wasn't supposed to try, so I didn't know what I was supposed." Yeah, I was like, "All right, great job."
Have a lack of leadership.
Great job, NBA.
This is what it really is: a lack of leadership. Somebody needs to lead them and tell them, "Let's go hard."
Yeah. Finally, what is your thought on the Western Conference hierarchy headed into the postseason? Do you have like a secret stat for why the Nuggets are the best team? And it can't be the standings. I need another one. I need like what comforts you as a Nuggets fan where you think, you know what, maybe we are like the most likely team to come out of the West? And then also rank your other contenders, of course.
I think if I was looking for a stat that made me most confident, it's Denver's clutch net rating, which is, I think, a real nerd stat, but it's not one. There's some stats you come to in the stats and then you look for them. And then there's some things you're watching and then you look to see if it's verified in the stats. That's what this one is. Denver has not been a very good defensive team all year, but they seem to just kind of like come in when the starters check in with about 8 minutes to go. They all kind of look at each other like, all right, let's go. And all year long, they've played really good defense, gotten stops, and dominated. They have the #1 net rating in the clutch, and their starters are, I think, the plus 17 net rating when they're all together. Like the starters are really good, and when they close games, they're phenomenal. And I look at that and I just think that's the biggest indicator of how you're going to play in the playoffs. So that's why I think they're
so
good.
I'm a pretty big skeptic of clutch stats just because of the way they're arbitrarily defined, like the 5 minutes left, 5 minutes to go. But if I'm not mistaken, aren't the Nuggets always good? Like, isn't
the clutch?
Yeah, the clutch numbers are good every single year.
Every year.
Where it's like,
again,
oh yeah.
Again, I'm with you on this because you have to this is one where you really have to just go and watch the teams. And the thing I always say, I mean, I just mentioned Memphis coming into Denver scoring 130 points, on them. Denver just doesn't get slowed down. When it comes to clutch time, everybody has to go to their tough shots. And are we going to hit them? Denver still gets the same shots. And teams will try a zone. They'll try this. They'll try a guy over here and a guy. Denver just seems to always score in the clutch. Like, you don't slow them down there. So and then in Denver's defense, I don't think they can play 48 minutes of defense. Maybe I'm hopeful in the playoffs they can play 2 quarters. But in the regular season, they play about 6 minutes. And that's usually enough to open up a 10-point win.
I'm like scrolling through every year of clutch stats.
How'd we do? I mean, last year, no Murray. I'm guessing they were
last year not great, but you were still top half of the league. The year before that, you were I want to emphasize, this is basically an arbitrary number, but the net rating this year in clutch time plus 20 for the Nuggets, which is the best. Last year they were top half of the league. The year before that, they were 10th in clutch net rating. Year before that, they were 6th in clutch net rating. We're now back to the 2018-19 season. They were 3rd in clutch net rating.
So those ones are the ones that matter to me. So you're talking about the Murray Jokic era. You go 3rd, 6th, 10th, which is probably weighed down a little bit by the fact that Murray got hurt, with 20-something games left. And then this year, obviously 1st. So they've basically been top 6 in all of the healthy Murray eras. And that's because at the end of the game, spread the court out, let's run some pick and roll and make him pick your poison. And it just works.
So do you think the Nuggets are the favorites in the West?
I think they are. The way the standings shake out are actually probably determine the true standings.
Yeah.
Because right now, the fact that Denver might have to, I mean, if Denver's matchup is Denver Golden State round 1, Denver Phoenix round 2, okay, they're no longer the favorites because now they have probably the 2 toughest matchups for them, 1-2.
Well, they're not like 50% likely to come out, but they might have a bigger probability share than anyone. I don't think anyone is over 50% to win the West at this point.
What's funny? I remember the odds, like 538 odds of the Warriors in 2018 when they had KD and everybody else. And their odds were like 47%. And I was like, man, they're still more likely than not to win, even though they're by far.
They had some close calls, right? And was that the year they were on the ropes against the Rockets? Or
I think that year they went 16-1 or something.
That's pretty good. That team was fair.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that Denver, I think their odds of coming out of the West are actually more like 27%. And that would probably be number 1. And then you've got Memphis, it's just probably like 20%. And
I believe 538 actually still has Memphis might be the favorite now.
Well, I think it's all
matchup based. Where it's like if the Grizzlies end up playing whoever, if you play Timberwolves round 1, if there's a 52% chance you face the Kings in round 2, and then then maybe you face the Nuggets, whoever in round 3, odds are you have a coin flip chance to win each one. Yes. It turns out you are actually the favorite or something.
Do you fear one of these play-in teams as a Memphis guy?
I fear them all.
Well, I agree with that. None of them are easy. There's no pipsqueak.
The Grizzlies are, I don't know. The stat I comfort myself with is the Grizzlies when John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. play are plus 17 net rating for the season. Like,
there you go.
They kill people. Yeah. And if you take away when Steven Adams and Brandon Clark aren't playing, you cut out 60% of the sample size, but the numbers go up. You're now plus 18.5. So like my comfort myself is with Ja, with Jaren, and with Desmond, they're great. I do fear that they're a regular season team. Like without Steven Adams, because I don't trust that Steven Adams is going to be healthy. And without Brandon Clark, who was the hero of the Timberwolves series, Desmond Bane and Brandon Clark beat the Timberwolves last year. And now that we have nothing on the bench, like nothing, I'm like, I worry, like specifically, I worry against the Timberwolves. I worry against the Lakers, of course. The Lakers are healthy. I think they can beat the Thunder, no problem. I think they can beat. I mean, I think they would beat the Timberwolves, but I think it would be like a nail biter. I think it's like 7-game series.
Timberwolves are sneaky, terrible first round matchup. Just
I mean, honestly, so the
new.
Timberwolves lost Naz Reid, which is like a huge loss, and you
Yeah.
you wouldn't feel like it would be a huge loss because they have Cat and Gobert and Kyle Anderson, but Naz Reid's been their guy. He's been this like 20-point per game guy off the bench. So yeah, I don't have a good. I think the Grizzlies should beat any team they would play in the first round, but I also think definitely. I mean, I honestly don't fear the Pelicans, but I think if it's the Warriors, which is probably unlikely, but if it's like the Mavs or the Lakers or the Timberwolves, that's going to be a very, very close series. And I don't have like I don't have like a 65% confidence level. It's more like, I think the betting line is going to be like Grizzlies minus 120. And I'm going to be like, yeah, okay.
All right. Yeah. If Denver and Memphis match up, I think it's a 7-game series, all blowouts.
I think
home team wins every single one. No,
I think honestly, I think the Grizzlies match up pretty well. If Steven Adams is available, I think the Grizzlies match up pretty well with the Nuggets. I like that the Nuggets can't slow down John Morant in my mind, and I like at least they're gonna have problems. And I like having Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. to put on to throw at Jokic. So I feel like it's as far as matchups go with one seeds, I like it for the Grizzlies. Not saying I'd pick the Grizzlies yet, but. I do. I agree with you. I think it could be every home team wins 130 to 100.
Yeah, 111.
Game 7, the Nuggets win by 48.
Our terrible benches all play well at home and terrible on the road, and it's just
that's right.
That's how this shakes out.
Right.
You do forget though, Denver does have a secret weapon again in that series. This is distasteful, but Shotgun Willies.
Oh no! Oh, Adam.
Sorry.
Are they having Dr. Seuss night again?
Sorry.
Who can resist a Dr. Seuss night? Anyway, Adam, thanks so much. On that note, hanging up the phone. Hanging up the phone. Pleasure as always. I look forward to the next time we talk.